Hey guys, this is Matt NES. So lately online I've been seeing these videos pop up where people started ranking things when it comes to video games. They would do things like systems or certain game libraries or controllers or whatever, and I thought I'd put my own hat into the ring when it comes to the subject. So what I thought I'd do for you guys today is go over the first-party Super Nintendo games that I own in my collection. I could have gone through my entire collection, but really we'd be here for a long time doing that. So I thought I'd just limit it to my first-party titles that I own in my own collection. So why don't I rank my first-party Super Nintendo titles that I own? Let's check it out. Alright, so the first game up needs no introduction, Super Mario World. This is a legendary game. This is the pack-in title for the Super Nintendo. I still think that Mario Bros. 3 is a better game overall than this one. That's why I'm probably more inclined to give this one an A. I definitely feel like that this game is a bit easier than most. The Cape Feather kind of breaks the game, so does Yoshi. And I do feel like this is definitely a smaller game than Super Mario Bros. 3. There's only about, 70 or so levels, and, Worlds 7 and 8 are kind of combined into their own thing. And when doing this list, I want to try and compare this to games that were accessible back during the time, and I feel like this game didn't quite reach the same heights as Super Mario Bros. 3. So, while this game is still excellent and should really be in any SNES library, I'd still mark this as an A. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. I'm gonna just be straight up and just mark this one as an A. This is definitely a lot different from most other Mario games. I really wouldn't full-on count this as a Mario game, even though it has Mario World in its title. I think that was more for marketing than it was actually being a full-on sequel to Super Mario World. But I'd still say that this game is quite good. But I still feel like that there are lots of other 2D platformers that really trump this one on the system. And we're going to be getting to those pretty soon. So next up we got Super Mario Kart. This one's a little tough because this is the first game in the series. I definitely feel like that there's a lot of really good things going for this game. Even for people playing it now in 2019, I'd say, they still managed to perfect the battle system really well in this game. The racing is a little bit kind of not so great, and they do recycle a lot of backgrounds and tracks and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm kind of caught in a hard place a little bit with this game. I want to give it an A because I think that it's still fun to play today, and I still think this is worth having in any collection. But ultimately, I still think this is a B because there are just better Mario Kart games that you can play. You know, this only has 2-player. It has sort of a forced split-screen perspective, even if you're playing in single-player. So, as hard as it's going to be for me to, as much as I'd like to give it a higher grade, I think B is the one that I want to give it, honestly. So this next one, Mario Paint. This is a really, really nostalgic game for me. I put a lot of hours into this just because it's a really interesting time waster from back in the day. When this game was released in 92 or 93, there wasn't really, any kind of application that was kind of like this. Especially ones that are, so easy to operate and grasp and stuff like that. But honestly, this game is completely outshadowed by something like MS Paint. I just don't feel like anyone should really come back to this game for any real reason outside of nostalgia. I have this game in my system, in my collection, for nostalgia and nothing alone. I don't see myself playing this game very often. I have it in my collection just because I have so many happy memories with it. Really nothing else. I have to give this one a D. I would give it an F, honestly, just because there are lots of other ways where you can screw around with the paint program, but I guess because it has some interesting stuff in it, like the whole Mario coloring thing and the fly swatting minigame, I guess it's worth having it in your collection just for that. And if you're a Mario super fan, I guess you gotta have something like this, but for the average Super Nintendo collector, you can do without this one, so yeah, I gotta put this one to D. So last up for the pure Mario games, we have the legendary Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. This is quite the game. And it's kind of funny because, like, I would say a year before this game was released, Square had tried to introduce RPGs to the West, and they tried to do their own version of a beginner's RPG with Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. And honestly, I feel like they really failed in that regard, and they just dumbed it down too much to the point where it was, like, kind of patronizing. Because I can tell you firsthand that this game was my very first gateway into RPGs. No one told me to pick this game up. No one told me how to play this game. I saw it on TV one day thinking that it was just like some kind of quasi 3D Mario platformer, only to find out that it had this weird turn-based thing, and it was just excellent at teaching players how to play an RPG who'd never played one before. Like, I recognized that the bigger numbers I did to my opponents were better. I recognized that, you know, taking damage was bad, and healing up that damage was good. Like, it really teaches you how to play an RPG really, really well. I'm so close to giving this game an S rank, but once again, there's some really, really stiff competition on this system, and even in this category, this pigeonholed category that I have for this video, there are still better first-party RPGs for the Super Nintendo. So with a heavy heart, I have to give this an A. I still feel like it's a little too easy, kind of short and kind of limited in how you can build your characters and stuff like that. So, and also the story is kind of, you know, paint by numbers, you know, kind of generic save the world kind of story. But really, this game is still very funny. Like, the dialogue in this game still makes me laugh. But there's some real stiff competition on the Super Nintendo. We're going to be getting to those really, really soon. So y'all heard me talk about having there be some really stiff competition on the system, and this is where it begins. Oh my god. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This is, in my opinion, one of the greatest action-adventure games ever conceived for gaming. This is... I feel like it's almost a perfect game. It's linear enough to keep you on a path and not have you, you know, look up a guide in order to see what to do. But there's enough exploration in the game to help you find heart pieces, bottles, and, you know, getting extra money and stuff like that. And, you know, even doing certain things out of order where you don't feel weighed down and railroaded. This game could be nothing else but an S in my mind. This is almost a perfect video game. And there's a lot of games like that on the Super Nintendo. This is why this system is one of my favorites of all time, y'all. This game is amazing. And we're not even halfway through this library yet, so let's keep going. So we're 2 for 2 on this one. While Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past might have been the best 2D top-down action-adventure game, this, in my opinion, is the best 2D side-scrolling exploration-based game, or Metroidvania, as some of you guys might know for this particular genre, Super Metroid. This game, I feel like, alongside stuff like Metroid Prime and Castlevania Symphony of the Night, are just the best games in their genre. There are so many different ways to enjoy this game when it comes down to it. You can speedrun this game, you can sequence break it, you can just enjoy the game how it was originally intended to be played. You can get 100% items or not. There's so much replayability in this game. The only thing that I could say that's negative about this game is that it's too short. Yes, the only thing negative that I can say is that there's not enough Super Metroid. And that's a good problem to have, I feel like. This is an S-tier game. One of my favorites of all time. This is, like, along with Link to the Past, this game is in my top 10 favorite games of all time. For a reason. So yes, this could be nothing else but an S-tier for me. And the S-tier train is still rolling! Earthbound! Like, this game... This game's dialogue is hilarious and heart-wrenching at times. This game's battle system is fun and engaging. The setting, with having it be set in modern day times instead of like, you know, the average like medieval swords and sorcery kind of things that were running rampant during this time, was unique and still kind of is. There's not really a lot of RPGs outside of like maybe Persona, even today, like, are being made in this style. I could still play this game today and find new things about it that I'd never known about before. Certain NPC dialogues or certain effects for spells that I never tried using in other playthroughs. Like, this game, it has to be another S-tier game. This game right here is the reason why I feel like I can't give a pass to Super Mario RPG and let it be an S-tier game, because I just love this game more. I think that there's a lot more value in this game than Super Mario RPG. So yes, Earthbound, another S-tier game. You can see why I was saying that there's a lot of competition on this system for getting that coveted S-tier ranking. So not everything on the Super Nintendo can be an S-ranked masterpiece. FZero. So I'm just gonna say that this is a C-rank game for me. There's no multiplayer in this game, you know, where Mario Kart does have it. Already I feel like that's kind of an automatic ding to this game. You know, there's a lot of reused tracks, a lot of reused assets for this game, and honestly, I just feel like that there were so many better entries in this series that came just a few years later. Yeah, I'm just going to give this one a C. I think this is a game you should have in your library if you really, really like racing games. But for the average Super Nintendo collector, this one is not necessarily needed. It's fun, but I don't think you could get a lot of value out of this game. So next up we have Starfox. This one has me a little bit torn because, yeah, it's not very graphically intensive, especially nowadays, and that's kind of saying it lightly. It was one of the first 3D-based games that were available on consoles during the time. The frame rate's pretty low, and honestly, when you compare it to Star Fox 64, like, there's no competition. Star Fox 64 is a better game. But, you know, when you're comparing it to other games on the system, this game is still really fun. Like, even though the game runs at kind of a low frame rate, you know, the game's still pretty fast-paced and hectic. There's a fantastic soundtrack for this game. And it can be as easy or hard as you want it to be, honestly. Like, there's actually a pretty good range in difficulty. Like, even if you have kind of a low skill level when it comes to space shooters, you can have a lot of fun with this game. I can't ignore the fact that this game still doesn't look very good and run very well, especially to things that just came out like a few years after this. So I'm thinking I'm going to give this one a B. It's still fun to play. It's still overall a good game for the system, but, you know, it's not an absolute must-own for the system. So we got another one that has me a little conflicted. We have the original Donkey Kong Country. This game is definitely a very strong nostalgia game for me. I never actually owned this game myself, but I rented it like a ton, like more than 3 times from Blockbuster Video. And I would say that even today, like, this game still looks pretty good, especially when you realize that this game was made back in 1994. However, I feel like that this game is kind of a little bit bare bones, especially compared to other games on the system, and also compared to later entries in the series as well. I really, really do want to give this game an A rank, but I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards B. It's a little too short, it's a little bit too low on features, it's a little bit too low on post-game content after beating the game, and you're going to see how much of a huge step up it is to the next game in the series. Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. This is probably the best 2D platformer from Nintendo proper on the entire system. It had a lot of the secret exits like there were from the original game, Plus, they added the whole DK coins and the Kremlin coins and banana coins and stuff like that you can collect to unlock different levels. There's multiple endings. This game is just such a huge step up from the original, it's not even funny. And this game definitely has a really huge healthy challenge in it. Like, this is a tough game, especially if you're going for 100%. Like, this is quite the game. This is probably the best in the series. I would say it would come down to either this or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This is a fantastic game. I have to give it an S tier. It blows Super Mario World out of the water, in my opinion. Same thing with Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, and even the original DKC. Like, this is a fantastic game that needs to be in every SNES collection. And then we hit a little bit of a snag. This game right here. It definitely has more stuff in it. You know, you have the giant map that you can explore and stuff like that, and you can rent the vehicles from Funky Kong and stuff. But, I don't know, no DK or Diddy Kong as a playable character, plus Kiddy Kong is definitely not one of my more favorite characters in the series. And this game's soundtrack is just not great. This is the first game in the series that didn't have David Wise composing the music for this game, and it definitely shows. Which is actually kind of funny, because I'm actually planning on getting rid of this copy that I have right here and trading it in for the GBA version, because they actually brought back David Wise to recompose the game from beginning to end. And that can only make the game better, so yeah. This game is definitely not bad by any means, but I think I'm gonna have to give this one a C. Like, I would say that the original Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2 are absolutely worth owning in any collection. This one, I feel like you can skip either entirely or, you know, get the GBA version. Super Punch-Out! This is probably my least favorite game in the series, but that's not really saying a whole lot because I think I love every game in the series. This game definitely doesn't really play a whole lot like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It actually more controls like the arcade Punch-Outs from back during the mid-'80s than it does Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or even Punch-Out for the Wii. This game does bring back a lot of old favorites from the previous series, like Super Macho Man and Bald Bull and other characters like that. There are some other characters that didn't really make a whole lot of appearances outside of the arcade Punch-Out, like Dragon Chan and Bear Hugger. And some of the original guys that were in this game, like Gabby J and Bob Charlie, are, you know, they're decent characters enough, but honestly, I feel like outside of that, the original characters that they did introduce for this game were kind of lazy and not very inspired. Like, yeah, this was the game that did introduce Aaron Ryan, but Aaron Ryan wasn't a fully fleshed out character until Punch-Out for Wii. Let's get real here, come on. But overall, I still think this is a good Punch-Out game. It still has the heart and soul of Punch-Out, but this is the one that I come back to the least. I would still give it a B, though. It's still a great game. Got another weird one here. Pilot Wings. This was definitely a tech demo to show off Mode 7, to show off that, like, whoa, this system can kind of do, like, 3D kind of, sort of, maybe a little bit. I would still say that this game is fun, but I don't know, man. I don't really feel like that this is a game that needs to be in every Super Nintendo gamer's library. The different mini-games are fun enough on their own, I guess, and, like, there's a point in the game where you actually do, like, a sort of, like, save-the-world type mission at one point. But, I don't know, I feel like you could probably skip this one. I don't think it's as bad as something like Mario Paint, so maybe I'll just give this one a C. It's fun. It comes with a light recommendation. You don't need to have it, but you could still find this one a little bit entertaining, I guess. Kirby Superstar. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I have not been a huge Kirby fan up until about, like, I would say a few years ago when I first tried out the series on the Wii with Kirby's Return to Dreamland. But I've been going back and playing certain Kirby games, and I can definitely see why this game is regarded to be one of the best games in the series. It's definitely unique how the main campaign is split up into several different mini-campaigns, some of them being like, straight left to right, get to the end of the stage, beat the boss sort of style, where others are more exploration-based, and it's more about like finding treasure and stuff like that. Like, there's a ton of variety in this game, and it's actually kind of unique how this whole thing is set up. I think I want to give this one an A. Again, I think it should sit high with some of the best 2D platformers that are on the system, like Mario World and Yoshi's Island, but I still think there's just a little something missing from this game to push it over the edge to give it that S tier ranking. Next up we have Cleo Cleo, or Kirby's Avalanche? Yeah, this is just Cleo Cleo. I guess the game was just a bit too Japanese for us Western folk, but that's what this game ultimately is. It's kind of weird seeing a Sega IP as dressed up as like a first-party Nintendo sort of deal, but that's what we get with this game. And I'm not the biggest fan of Cleo Cleo itself, but I do recognize that a lot of people really love the series. So I'm gonna give it a B. I'm not the biggest puzzle game fan, but I can definitely still see the appeal of this game, so a B is probably a good, solid rating for this game. So the last game in our lineup today is kind of more the same as the last one. We got Tetris Attack. This game has nothing to do with Tetris. The original version didn't have Yoshi and other Mario characters in it. This is, again, another Japanese-style game that I guess is a little too Japanese for us Westerners, and they kind of slapped on the Tetris IP. But unlike Kirby's Avalanche, I definitely feel like this is a really, really good puzzle game that I can get into a lot. It's definitely not one of my more favorites. I'm more of a classic Tetrisphere, and Mr. Driller sort of guy, but this is still a really good puzzle game. I'm gonna give this one an A. Yeah, I think this is deserving of being an A-tier game. I think, even if you're just slightly into puzzle games, I think this is one that is an absolute must for your library. There's definitely a lot of replay value in this game, whether you're wanting to do it either single player or multiplayer. Yeah, I'm gonna stick by that. A rank, that's how I'm gonna rank this one. So there you go, guys. That's my rankings for the first-party Super Nintendo games that I personally own. I wanted to make this video while this topic was still kind of popular. This is kind of an experimental video for me, but if you guys liked what you saw, I could rank more things if you'd like. Agree or disagree with my rankings in the comment section below. Also, let me know of any games that I might have missed. I don't have every first-party Nintendo game in my collection. I don't have Kirby's Dream Land 3, for example, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, guys, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to be notified of future videos, make sure to click the bell icon and turn notifications on. And if you want to further help out the channel, make sure to click that like button as well. It really does help out the channel a lot. And I want to thank you guys so much again for watching. I'll catch you later. Bye.